Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Informed in 5. Today's guest is Dr. Jerry Alliston. He is the Associate Director of the Institute for Disability Studies at the University of Southern Mississippi. And today he joins me to share information about the university's new Rise to the Top program, a post-secondary education program for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. The program is called Rise to the Top. And RISE stands for Reaching, Including, Supporting, and Educating. And of course, to the top is a Southern Miss slogan, I guess. A lot of people think it's for sports, but it's a lot of things for Southern Miss in general. And so this is an IPSE program, Inclusive Post-Secondary Education. And what that means is a college program for students with intellectual disabilities. And so Think College is the national coordinating center, thinkcollege.net. Lots of great resources, and you can see all the programs across the country. And then recently they had 319 programs, and we have 2 of those in our state, and we're the second one after the Access program at Mississippi State. So the RISE program, like I mentioned, is a post-secondary program for students with disability. It's a chance to go to college. And it's a chance to pursue employment and maybe that career that all young people want and need and should have the opportunity to experience. And so the way the program works, it will be a 4-year program, and up to 10 students each year will be accepted, around 8 to 10, but no more than 10. And they would be considered students of the university, just like any other college student. They get an ID, they can participate in pretty much anything. They will, from an academic standpoint, they would take 1 class per semester, and they can audit the class or they can take it for credit. And then audit, they're basically the same thing, but audit is you don't get the college credit. And you may not have to do necessarily all the assignments, et cetera. It's more about the experience. So it depends on the student and on the classes. We want to have a good combination of that because we feel that students should have that opportunity. And the plan is for all students to take University 110, which is university studies. That's an introduction to the college. They learn their how to study, there's different skills and everything about the university. So it's a really great first class for any college student, and they'll take it with their peers. All classes are with peers with and without disabilities. It's all meant to be inclusive, the entire program, as much as possible. And so that would be a required class. And then we're going to offer some 400 level classes, which are kind of like special topics. And we got lots of plans in the work, but the point is for them to be able to focus on certain things they want to accomplish, like using, an example would be using, transportation in the local area, or learning about certain things that can help them go to another level. And then beyond that, they will choose which classes. So historically, most of the classes our pilot students have taken have been 100 and some 200 level classes, what you think of freshmen and sophomore as a general rule. Not saying they couldn't take some of the other, but we help advise and we help work through that. And we've had some great faculty at USM that have been so supportive, and it's been wonderful. And we look at seeing that grow. So we already got a really great pool of classes that we got some great connections, and we want to just see that keep growing and expanding. And so the students, and certainly they get to choose which classes they're going to take. And then there's 3 other major components to this program, and I would even say 4. And so one is mentorship. So they get a peer mentor that will meet with them on a weekly basis. And of course, will help them get organized, get prepared for class, for review the syllabus, et cetera, but to get them used to the college environment. It may just be to meet them for lunch somewhere or go to the gym. It just depends. They will not do tutoring, but they will help connect them to resources like that on campus. Because at USM, like most universities, there's a writing center, a speaking center, a math center, and there are tutoring services for people with disabilities. So they would help get them connected to those resources. So at least a 1 hour a week, but could be much more depending on the person. The second part of this program that's pretty common for all these programs is internships. just like most programs have internship opportunities in college, this one does as well. And it's to really give those hands-on real world experiences. You know, we always jokingly say, how do you know if you like something unless you've tried it? And that includes work and career. And so for a lot of these young people, they may have never worked before at all. So it's to really give them some of those experiences or different experiences than what they've had. Um, and so they will be doing that on a yearly basis, and more so the further they get into the program and more longer time periods. The third area, which is a little unique to, not unique just to us, but it's a huge focus that's been placed on it versus other programs may not have quite as much of a focus, is service. We really see the value of service and giving back to one's community. And so the students in this program will have a minimum number of service hours they'll be completing. And they could do that certainly at the Institute, but there's an array of programs and services, volunteer opportunities across the campus and in the greater community. And we would help facilitate that. And then the last one, I think, we may not think about quite as much, but we assist the students in getting connected with their university. So we really highly recommend to be involved in at least one extracurricular activity, whether it's a club or intramural sport or whatever. We do offer Special Olympics here at the Institute, SO College. So that's definitely a great opportunity for those that are interested. But there's a array of just like activities, you know, the religious to, gosh, I just got some more recently about a new service program that's coming about. So we highly recommend to be involved in at least one, and we've seen students do more than that actually. And then they have so many hours and so many experiences and all this, and it's actually what we're very, very excited about is RISE is going to be a true certificate. So it's not a degree program, but it is a certificate, just like any other certificate here at the university. And so when these students graduate, they will have a certificate. And then we're looking at doing what's called badges. And those are kind of step down from certificate, but it can be on food services, it could be on computer skills. So it's just showing skills that they've learned. And so we're going to be exploring those over the next year while we're kind of grandfathering past pilot program students in. And then the ultimate goal is to graduate. And so we're getting all that in order. We plan for these students to participate in full USM graduation, you know, in May, walk across the stage just like everybody else. A little bit unique with our program is there's no age limit. So a lot of these programs actually go up to age 24, 26, maybe even 30. We have no age limit. So in our pilot program, we actually had our first two students were over the age of 30. And so we definitely, there's a lot of young people, a middle age, I guess you could say, people with intellectual disabilities who still want this opportunity. So the second part of that is it is a program for people who have a diagnosis of intellectual or cognitive disability. They can certainly have other diagnoses, but it is geared to that particular diagnosis. And at this point, our program, we're grandfathering people in. We've had a pilot in our 5th year of a pilot. We've tried various things. We've had lots of successes. We've had lots of things we want to do better and to make the program, you know, even stronger. So we'll accept our first cohort in 2024, the fall of 2024. The plan is to accept new applications later this fall, toward the end of fall, hopefully October, November, and we're getting all that set up, and there will be an application. So besides having an intellectual disability, the other main requirements, you know, you'll have to submit paperwork, just like, you know, anybody applying for college, and you need to have finished high school. A certificate of completion is wonderful, and we anticipate that's what most of these students will have. Great. That's, you know, it took a lot of work to do that, and they need to submit that in a transcript, and then just more information. But what do they need really to be in this program? You know, a desire to attend college, because it is going to push them and it's going to get them to the best of their abilities and work toward hopefully more of a career status. That's the whole point of these programs. But there's lots of other benefits certainly from them. But we always laughingly say, why do people go to college? And there's certainly exceptions, and there's learning and to better yourself. There's lots of reasons, but for a lot of people, it's to get that skill, that trade, that degree, so you can have a job, employment, career, and be self-sufficient. And it's the same thing for these young people. They have the same dreams as anybody else, especially their peers and their siblings. So the other things I mentioned kind of before, what could separate our program from the other ones, we do have the certificate. And not a lot of the programs have the certificate. So we're very proud of that, and we'll be offering many badges. And that's kind of a new thing in these programs where they get, some skill levels there. So when they graduate, not only will they have the certificate, but it's going to list on their transcript all the different badges that they've obtained. Knowledge is power, and we really believe that. The second thing is it does have that huge focus on service that we do at so many of our youth and young adult programs and adult programs here at the Institute. And so there will be minimum number of hours, and then they'll be recognized that there's a new program recognition in place at the university for those who earn so many hours, and we want to participate in that. And the last thing at this point, like several programs that have been established over the years, we will not do housing initially at this point, but we're working on that. So the plan is to have housing, may or may not be for fall of 2024, but we're going to start that process. And so, but regardless, we're going to have the program, and it's going to be a great experience. And if we don't have housing then, we'll hopefully have it in the near future after that. So many outcomes, I think, that are possible. We mentioned career and getting a job, but getting a job in something they want to do in an area they want to do, and hopefully have opportunities for advancement. I think that's an underlining theme for a lot of these programs, but also it's just to have the college experience. There's a lot of data coming out showing, or data has been out showing, that students who go through these programs do find employment and do find longer employment at a higher pay level, but also increased advocacy skills, increased independence. They have all these unique experiences that they may not have had otherwise. They could have had similar ones, certainly. But you think about when you go to college, there's a huge growth on independence and friendships. And it's a learning process, not only for them, the students, but for the families as well. And then Think College has lots of resources and data, and there's been lots of articles, and everything is really, for the most part, really positive about these programs and a lot of the benefits that one can get. We just want to give that opportunity. I've been in transition to adulthood services, 20, 25, 30 years now. And then it's often I talk to a young person with intellectual disability who does want to go to college because their sibling did or their friends did. And so I always say I would love to get to the point where, we talk transition to adulthood, when students with intellectual disabilities or similar disabilities graduate around 18 like their peers, and not expected to stay until they're 21, which has always been a great option, certainly. But we want to get more opportunities for them to leave and go to another level the same time their peers are doing it, if they choose to do so. So we're very excited. And one thing I will say is I'm proud of the RISE program. This has been a long time in the making. There is a fee for the program, but it's going to be a lot lower than comparable fees across the nation. And that's one thing that slowed the process down. We want to make this more affordable and for everyone, because these programs, to be honest with you, can be quite expensive. So we're still working on that, but keeping the cost down and scholarships, and we're getting comprehensive transition program status, which means there's a FAFSA you can apply for and certainly get some benefits there. We're just very proud of getting this accomplished, but it's not just about us at the Institute. We want more of these programs, and so that's part of what we're doing. And I have to do a shout out. We've done a pilot for 5 years, and none of that would have been possible without the Mississippi Council on Developmental Disabilities giving us a grant to pursue this. They've been so understanding and so supportive. It's really the backbone has been their support financially, but also other ways that they've supported so much. And I know they're going to help us support, announcing the program and spreading the word. And we're getting a huge response already. We're very excited, but part of this though, with the council, what we've been able to do is we have our first alliance meeting next month where we're going to set up a statewide alliance for these programs. Like I said, we only have 2, but there's a lot of interest. And so community college system is very, very interested. And then I can name 3 or 4 other universities that are really wanting to do these programs. And 2 have already stepped up and said they want to try to have it in place. Same time, we're going to fully establish our program. That's exciting. Because when we do these, we say it's 8 to 10 students, but some of these programs have 30, 40, 50, 100 people apply. So there's a lot of people not getting into these programs. So the more opportunities we have, the more people that can attend and have that college experience. And that's really, really what it's about. You want opportunities, and all parents are concerned about their young adult, we'll say young adult, moving off to college, whether it's 2 hours away, 4 hours. That's just all parents feel that way. But we definitely see it when you have a young adult with an intellectual disability, and the program Mississippi State Access is a wonderful program. I've toured it numerous times and was there the first year. I was so excited and so jealous as as an educator, and wanted a program here, and it's taken us several years to get that accomplished. But we want options, and we knew students were actually leaving our state. There's a program in Mobile, there's one in Homa, there's Memphis, I think probably are considered the closest one. And a few years ago all our states had one program in neighboring states, but now we've fallen behind and we've gotten 2. And I'm so proud to say we've doubled to 2, but several of the programs now at 6, 7, 8, and Florida is at 20 something. I don't even know. I have to look it up. They keep growing, but those are opportunities. And, we think of Mississippi not being a huge state, but, it's what, 5 or 6 hours across the whole state. And, 2 hours away is a long distance sometimes. And we would love to see more opportunities for those who want to go in their local area, who may want to stay at home and may want to do a 2-year program versus a 4-year program. So I'm excited. This has been a long time coming, and I can't wait to look, in the next 5 years, go to Think College and look at their search, and it shows we have 5 programs or 10 programs, and they not only have we caught up, but maybe we move beyond some of the other states and can be leading in some of these areas. So it's a very exciting time. Most of the programs are meant to be small. And so you certainly can go above 10, but you don't see that a lot. Most of the programs still stick to that, I'd say 6 to 10. So for us, when I say growth at this point, I'm looking at having accepting a whole new cohort every year. So I'd like to see us having a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior cohort, which would be amazing. So, potentially up to 40 or maybe a little more students total. Like I said, there are some programs that do more than that, and we will certainly explore that a little bit, but some of them are more geared to the employment part of it, even more so than the academic part of it. So we'll kind of look at that. I really love some of the things state's doing, like you mentioned, the Thrive program. I think there's definitely some connections there, and I think there's some connections with national service. And we've had our AmeriCorps program, the Triad program, for over 10 years. I think there's some opportunities there because we've been piloting this program for 5 years, and most of the students we've had, not all, but majority, have used their educational stipend from doing national service. So they were able to pay for their classes that way. And so I think there's some more collaboration. We can look at, connecting those even more. The second thing I will say, or another thing I would say, is we have a large campus on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, so that's in my thoughts. No specific timelines, and nothing's being announced or anything like that, but I would love to see a program not only in Hattiesburg, certainly, but on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Yeah, definitely in the future, I'd love to see us have two full programs and not maybe some additional programs with some additional services as well. People can contact me and I'll give the general IDS information and I'll give my direct information. But the email to the Institute is ids@usm.edu. And then my email is my name, Jerry, Jerry .Alliston, ALLISTON @usm.edu. And then if you'll call this main number, you can get some basic information or you can ask for me. Certainly, it's 601 266 5163. So at this time, anybody that contacts us with interest, we're certainly explaining, giving more specifics about the program, or answering all their questions, and then we're keeping a list of people that will notify when the application process start. And again, we're looking at somewhere October, November, December, because we would like to have our first cohort selected in the early spring of 2024, because there's a lot to that. And then one thing I didn't mention, because there's so much happening with this program, and state does this, and I've heard lots of positives. We will have a summer program for these students to help prepare them even more so, and their families, when they move into college. And so at this point, it's geared to those students, but I see the advantage of those who may be interested as well. So we're still exploring that. So that may be something people may be interested, but contact us, email me. We love to share. We always promote the access program as well. So now we kind of have, two programs across the state, but there's still a lot of areas and a lot of distance in between. And again, I can't wait till we can say there's 4 or 5 programs and people have choices, and that's what it's about. These programs to me are founded on collaboration and partnership. And I have to say, and I haven't give kudos. So certainly IDS, Institute for Disability Studies, is one of the founding, I guess, partners, but also the other IDS at USM. We're the two IDSs, Interdisciplinary Studies and Professional Development. So they're the academic piece. So we're into research and they're into academics. So it's the best of both worlds. And so it's a true partnership. We couldn't do it without them and vice versa. So I want to say that. So the program is founded on initial partnerships. That's how we were able to do the certificate. Thankfully, or I guess that's the way I look at it, we do so much already with transition to adulthood services. And we have several different programs. I mentioned the AmeriCorps, we have a leadership council, peer mentoring, lots of different things. But we have a huge project called Total Transition Teens to Adult Life, which is pre-employment transition services, PREETS, funny word, through Mississippi Department of Rehab Services. And it's a wonderful program. So Voc Rehab's been very, very supportive. It's a full training program. And we do lots of different training, and there's 5 major areas, but preparing people for college is part of that. And then it's all, like I said, employment focused, but also having those internship experiences, community interviews, job interviews, oh gosh, career informational interviews, job shadowing, all those different experiences. I just named a few. So we already have a good, strong relationship in our local area. And we've been doing internships, gosh, for 6 years through this program, but we were doing some things before that as well. So we've already got a huge network that we know we can get these students connected with. And why that's so important is we want to put people in places they're interested in. We don't want to just force an internship or just place them there so they're having experience, which can be important, certainly early on. But with the RISE program, it's meant to put them in places that they're thinking maybe something they want long term. It's really more of a career mindset. I used to say when I first came into the system that we as the disability world, all the different entities, once we found a young person with a disability, their first job, it's almost like we felt we were done. And, oh, good job. Now we got them, they're done. But we've realized certainly, and we knew over the years, and research has shown that that's just the first job. That doesn't mean it's going to be their career. Brittany, I could say, are you doing your first job? I'm not doing my first job. And I think most people that way, and why do we think they're going to be doing their first job? And so young people with intellectual disabilities, just like anybody else, interests change, health changes, they change with age, everything. Just that's just part of life. And so we want to give them many experiences. And so I'm so glad that we have a huge listing of businesses on the campus. We had a Project Search at one time. We were lucky to bring Project Search to Mississippi and then collaborating with Mississippi Partner Rehab Services, and they have taken it to another level. It's amazing. They've got, I don't even know how many more they've got now. It's way over a dozen. I think they're getting close to 20 programs, if I believe that's correct. But so, and they're all kind of different places. And so that's the whole point. So, we've got a really good network on the college campus, but we've already established several in the community, or numerous ones in the community as well. So when we sit down with these young people in the RISE program, we're going to build really, what are you interested in, and help them do some assessment, et cetera. But we'll have choices, which is what I'm so excited about, because I remember back when we were proud to get them one opportunity, and it's really now choices to make the best opportunity. And it's nice to see that we're moving in that direction.
That's wonderful information that you've just shared, and I want to thank you so much for coming on and joining me today. So again, I will share all of this contact information with this post. But again, thank you so much for being with me today.
It was my pleasure, and then thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for helping share information and getting people what they need.